Good evening. This is Tuesday, January 7th. This is the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board, calling this meeting to order 5:02. Can we have approval of tonight's agenda, please?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Anderson. Tonight's agenda, all in favor, Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. DeCosta,
Aye.
Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto.
Aye.
Anybody else on board? Dave
Dave
Rossi?
Franzuto.
Okay, he voted. Chair votes aye as well. Has everybody had a chance to look at the draft minutes of December 3rd? Anybody have any revisions they'd like to suggest or a motion to approve?
Basically, because twice it's approving the motion and seconding it, and it was like very early on in
Okay,
I'll tell you where that is. That's the only modification.
so you were approving.
I made the motion and then it said it, I seconded it, so that
Okay.
couldn't happen.
That happened or?
No, that didn't,
No,
that didn't
that's
happen.
by accident, that's why he's calling it up.
Good, good.
Second.
Okay,
If there are no more revisions or discussion on minutes of December 3rd, I'll accept a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. DeCosta, seconded by Mr. Anderson to approve the draft minutes of December 3rd with minor adjustment. All in favor, Mr. Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. DeCosta,
Aye.
Mr. Brace,
all right,
Mr. Franzuto.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.
So the modification turns out to be when we voted on the draft minutes in last meeting.
okay.
Nothing for the chairman's report. Happy New Year. Anything from the Marine Department? We'll go straight to natural resources. Hi, Tab.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Cool.
Yeah, so I guess over, the last few weeks in December, we've been, walking the beaches and paying attention to the wind and seeing, what's stranding. There's been some smaller strandings, nothing compared to what we saw in previous years up near Wawinnet. It seems like that's the place where everything goes. It's been a little too cold and windy to do anything about it, so we're really just kind of recording it as a loss at this point, but nothing really substantial. So we'll see kind of how things blow up. We have been moving seed too on the days that will allow. So I think last week we probably were out there twice moving seed. So there's not like a ton of stuff to move, but I think after this wind, we'll have some rows and it'll be a little bit closer to shore and easier to get. In other news, we got our new microalgae cultures in today. So we're starting up our algae system for the production year 2025. We're working on that schedule, but what we have going on right now is we have a kelp line up in the head of the harbor on the town aquaculture lease that will be up there probably until March. That's the time that it grows. We have, along with our bay scallop production, we're also going to be doing ribbed mussels this year and trying to prepare for integrating that species into some of our coastal resilience work. And it's something we haven't done before. So we're trying to, work out the kinks a little bit for that. And we're also kind of gearing up to anticipate working on the eelgrass management plan. So we're kind of working with some of the other island organizations and getting everything all on one Google Drive and kind of pooling all of our reports together so that we have a comprehensive list of all the work that has been done recently and historically. And as far as like scalloping goes, before break, I think it was the second week in December, I sent out a letter to all the commercial permit holders from our department just saying that it'd be really great if I could just get a total of the bushels that you harvested for November and December, because we're not really capturing that through the warden check. So we're missing a lot. And I got 6 people that responded, which was very kind of them and wrote nice notes. But of the people that responded are people that we don't usually capture, you know, what they're getting on any given year. So, you know, I'm going to resend the letter out and hope that I can, you know, get more people to tell me what they brought in, because I think it's an important year to kind of document the difference between November and December, since we did change the bushel limit, and see how that affected the participation compared to other years. So I'm hoping at the next SHAB meeting, I will, you know, have more of a comprehensive number to give you for what's been harvested. But from the people that responded, everyone is, you know, still getting their limit within 4 hours. So I think that things are pretty good, despite the weather that's going on right now. And I think that's kind of it, unless you have other questions.
I didn't get the letter, just so, I don't know if it went into my spam or what, but.
Okay. Yeah, we used whatever email address was on file on your permit.
Right, I'll check my spam.
Okay, I can resend it too.
Thank you, Sarah. A rough count on how many bushel your department has been able to move out at Wallwinnet?
I don't have a rough count yet because JC was out of town for the holidays, and so we're still trying to get that information onto the drive where we compile everything.
Okay, all right, well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from the board on natural resources report? Comments, questions? Anything from the public? John?
Yes,
John Logan.
to Tara, please, could you let us know where they're moving that seed to?
Of
Or-
course, yeah. We
And I-
document how much and the size.
I don't see them coming back around. Did you get that?
You don't see them coming back around?
Round
I
pocket.
don't see them coming back around Pocomo Point, so I know they're going out there to Wallwinnet, but I don't know. I would like to know to where they're moving it.
Yeah, everything's going in the lower harbor right now. It's not staying up in Wallwinnet.
Okay. Thank you.
Like
Mhm.
Middleton?
I can pull that together, but I think for the most part, it's been going into First Bend. I know they did both sides of Second Bend, both sides of Third Bend.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments on the natural resources report? Not seeing or hearing any. We'll move into old business. Advisory to select board on Vineyard Wind and wind turbines in general. This, I was supposed to do something with this after our last meeting and I did not.
Yeah, so, as the board instructed, I, sent a letter into town administration saying we wanted to send it to them, to select board and various representatives, legislative representatives, as well as, BOEM. And what I got back actually the same day was, the email that you guys all got, from Libby saying she didn't really have a problem with it.
I
But
guess
she
Dave
wanted-
Fantino has the heat. Yeah, he must
Hello,
be.
hello, hello,
Dave,
Dave,
Sorry,
hold on. Dave,
Didn't change.
hello,
That's Fonzuto now.
okay, I'm still talking.
Peter's
I
talking.
didn't say anything, is
Oh,
what I'm-
no, no, it was Dave Bossy. It's okay.
Okay, so administration wants it to be in letter form and not bullet points. And so as I was leaving 2 days later, I didn't have time to do it, so I passed it off to Andy and said, hopefully we'd send it to one of you guys and you could wordsmith it, but that didn't happen, so. I mean, I was under the impression that the letter was time sensitive, so that's why I sent it to you.
Well, so are you able to?
Yeah, I can do it, but I'm not gonna do it before dinner.
No.
Okay.
Okay, Peter,
I think at this
um,
point, it probably won't,
yeah,
next
Yeah.
meeting, between now and next meeting.
Okay.
I don't think,
Yeah.
I still think it's important to send it.
yeah,
I'd like to think this letter is gonna stand for a while, and, whether it's late or not, we can still send it out. Mr. DeCosta.
I was kind of surprised by the tone of the comment from town administration that they wanted final approval on the letter, where again, we talked about the fact that we're an elected board. And I still don't believe we need to have their approval to send it, but hopefully they won't give us a hard time about it. I actually like the idea of the bullet points. I think it's more succinct than just a
Yeah,
paragraph after paragraph letter, and I really don't want to change it. That's my personal opinion, but
I agree with you.
they're just trying to water this down, and it find it kind of hypocritical that in one breath, they're going after South Shore Wind with all kinds of threats of litigation, but in the next breath, we're moot on Vineyard Wind, and I don't see, it's an apples and apples comparison. There's no apples and oranges here. It's just one they got paid off and one they didn't, and now they want us to be silent as well, and as one elected official to this board, I don't necessarily think that I be the town administration. That's me.
Just so you know, Bobby, since I've been on the board, even when you were on the select board and we were coming before you, town administration had to review anything we would then bring before you. So that's how it's been.
I know, when
doesn't
I was
make-
the select board and you guys brought us something, we would tend to rubber stamp it because we felt you'd done your homework. And
Yeah,
in this case, I feel like they're trying to just water down our bullet points, so.
Well, I won't let them water it down. I'll take what I wrote and
Right, I
make the
get it.
points.
Yeah.
For sure. And if each point has to be a paragraph, we can get around it that way.
Chair, can I make one comment?
Bob, I wanna.
Especially
thank
because
you
we
for
have to
that.
sit here and have a meeting freezing cold.
Yeah. Jim?
Make one comment on the letter. In the wording, it says, while our board generally supports offshore wind energy, we are sharing our concerns here and negative impacts. We change that to, while our board generally supports renewable energy
Okay.
projects.
Yeah.
I think that would be better.
I had the same thing on that one. I was just gonna say, take out the offshore. But that's better, renewable energy. Thank you, Bob.
Is it in fact renewable energy or is it alternative energy?
Yeah, that might be better wording.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is
Because I
true.
don't see what's
It's
renewable
alternative,
about
yeah.
it.
renewable.
Yeah,
So I think we should say alternative energy.
thank you,
I agree with
Bob.
that.
I don't agree because that is renewable and it's the wind.
I don't know.
Renewable fiberglass blades.
Somehow there might be renewable anyway.
How it's captured is not exactly renewable if they have to come down in 25 years.
All right, alternative energy it is.
It seems to be the word that's being used in a lot of other aspects in discussions on this.
I think either one works, but better than what we had.
I think one of the, Dave Bossy here, I think one of the common terms is green nowadays, but I would not sure I'd go with that. I'd go with alternative. I agree. I like that. I have a question. Are we going beyond the select board on this letter? I saw it was only addressed to the select board. If we are, we just send them the letter to all the members of the board, as far as I'm concerned. We're an advisory board for them. We don't have to get that blessed to send a letter to the select board.
No, we're sending it to the people beyond the select board. I just addressed it that way
Okay, all right,
because
thank you. Okay,
Select-
so just a word of caution. As elected representatives of the town, we are probably a party to this agreement that says we won't say nasty things. Think about that, right? That's, Bobby, I agree with you about getting blessed if we're just sending it to the select board. But if we're gonna go beyond them as elected town people, town committee, then we probably have to abide by a contract that the select board signed.
I don't agree.
I don't agree either.
Okay,
You know,
that's fine. That's fine.
I don't
because-
I don't see anything nasty in the letter. All I do is see like basic facts that have been spelled out and our concerns related to those facts.
Okay, so as far as sending it beyond the select board, do we wanna, throw out a few, if we're gonna send this to Boehm or the BSEE,
Well, that's what we said we were gonna do, and we were gonna send it to our state legislature.
That's what I thought,
legislators,
yeah.
and our governor, and
Governors see.
our senators, and I mean, all it is a statement of how we feel.
Mhm.
And we are a non-regulatory board. The only power we have is to advise the select board, and we hope they listen to us. I think that agreement not to complain is really squarely on the select board's shoulders.
well, and
Plus, Libby said, go ahead and send the letter. So she must have thought about it.
in the first paragraph says where we support it, we generally support it. These are our concerns. So
Yeah.
we're not saying we are not supporting it. So
Right.
that might be enough to
Yeah.
make it happy. I think at this point, you rewrite the letter, we look at it at the next meeting, then we send it to the select board and say, these are the people we want to send it to with your approval. And then she'll tell us, if she tells us no, then we'll go from there. But if it's fine with them, then we can send it on to the governor and state, all the different people, parties.
Any more discussion? Thank you, everyone, on this. Base scallop dredge modifications. Put this on here, just not knowing whether we had completed what we needed to with the modifications that are being used by some scallopers today. What are you calling it, Jim?
Pressure plate dredge, I guess, or Chatham dredger,
Chain sweep.
sweep dredge.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be better.
And so Tara, just wanted to clarify with you, I know you and Jim had a lot of discussion back and forth on this. It's possible there could be some issues with with JC, and if there is there anything more we need to do to get these dredges, so they're not questionable by the constable?
I think the last time JC and I talked, we had talked about as long as the weight was okay for now while we're evaluating dredges and looking at the difference between the two, that it would probably most likely be okay. I can get clarification on that because I talked to him, that was like a week before he went on break. But
Okay,
there isn't anything we can do to get everything approved without having any data or ever seeing one. So I think, if it's going to be written into the regulations, I think it's going to have to be adopted later, after we do a few studies on them.
okay. I heard he's using a hanging fish scale. Can he be supplied with a better type of scale to weigh the dredges? Something maybe digital.
Maybe, I guess. I mean, I know we have a digital scale, but I don't think we use it for shell buckets. I don't think it's wide enough to hold a dredge to capture the weight. I don't know. I'll look and see what the alternatives are.
I just feel that maybe some accuracy may be questioned, with a hanging, a scale that you hold and then hang the dredge from it, and, you know, you've got some bouncing going on, and how accurate really is a scale like that, so, just throwing it out there for now, Tara.
All right, noted.
Okay. Bob?
One of the ways that I think you can regulate these dredges, as Jimmy talked about last time, is the center ring is 6 rings. That a regular dredge is 6 rings, so as
Yeah.
long as is it 7?
7's legal.
7's legal. Whatever our regular dredge is legal to the center of these dredges, because the extra rings are not necessarily across the bottom of the dredge. It's where it sweeps up to the chain. Where our regular dredge is a straight cutting bar. This sweep, the chain goes like this, so it's like a half moon. So you have more rings up the side. So, but if you counted the two middle rows of the dredge, as long as they weren't more than 6 rings, then you would be fine. You know, that, at least that's one way to make sure the dredge isn't too big. As far as the weight goes, you know, I have a digital hanging scale that I bought that I can weigh a fish up to 500 pounds with. And you can put whatever kind of hook you want on it and then tar it, and it zeroes out. So I got it on Amazon for like $30 or something like that. So they do make them.
Is it digital?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, goes up to
Okay.
500 pounds, from 1 to
Okay.
500 pounds.
I'm just visualizing the old brass one, and, you know, how do you tell between
Everything-
5 and 10? and-
Everything's digital now. So.
Yeah, okay, all right, good, all right,
I have a question.
Peter?
Well, maybe it's for Tara. Is JC weighing the dredges that he believes to be modified, or is he weighing everybody?
To be honest with you, I have no idea.
Just from what I've heard, Peter, he weighed some of these modified dredges recently. But I would imagine, I mean, he has the ability to weigh any dredge he feels.
Yeah, no, I'm
He needs
just
to
wondering
weigh.
if he's targeting those dredges, or,
All 15 people.
That's
Half the fleet.
kind of, you know, since it's something different,
yeah. I was
that,
wondering.
yeah, that's probably the case. You know, it's something new.
We
Let's
do
see
get,
how much
we
they're
do need
weighing
to
in
figure
at.
this out before next season though, because more and more fishermen are going to these dredges. They work better in the sand and the codium. They don't dig it in as much. They seem to fish cleaner. So I think this is gonna be more of the future of the fishery than the old style dredge. So we should figure this out before next season to make sure everyone's.
All right, Tara, I guess, you know, or Jeff, Mr. Carlson, what do we do to make sure we have this ready for next season? Should we keep this on the agenda? Do we note it and bring it up again later on an agenda? How do we, like, get this taken care of and in writing by the time next season comes around?
I think I mentioned at the last meeting that we ordered some dredges, and that we were working with Bill DePaul from VIMS, who was a commercial sea scalloper, and he's done a bunch of dredge studies. And so he's helping us design a study for May. May is when we do our spring survey dives that we started last year. So we'll get in and do our spring survey dives. And then after that, we'll have an idea of what's on the bottom after commercial fishing, and we'll be able to start our dredge surveys. And we'll be comparing the old style dredges to the new style dredges, and we will make every effort to, you know, replicate it with fishermen as well, doing the same thing side by side. So that's our plan so far. You know, I don't anticipate there being any problems. I just want to understand why these dredges work so well in sand, and do they work equally as well in eelgrass, and do people use them on the Cape because there is no eelgrass? Like, I just want to understand what the difference is and why the switch occurred.
Okay,
Lack of eelgrass.
Jim, do you want to address I mean, you kind of addressed it at the last meeting, but it sounded like, they're more bottom friendly for the eelgrass and they're fishing cleaner.
I would say the switch is more so due to less eelgrass than there was before. From discussion with guys in the Cape, who I know, you know, a lot of it's about what's on the bottom. I know one guy I spoke with said like in Pleasant Bay, they fish chain sweeps or roller sweeps, which is like either steel or lead rollers. And he told me that guys who fish chain sweeps usually caught too much, like I think they have small pebbles or gravel there. And they would load their dredge up with gravel if they didn't use roller sweeps. That's just one example, something different. I think the standard traditional Nantucket bar dredge probably fishes better in heavy eelgrass, like at Tuckernuck, for example, or at Horseshed or somewhere where it's a lot of eelgrass.
And the traditional dredge grasses up really quickly in codium, where these dredges don't catch the codium as much. They seem to slide through the codium and get the scallops out of the codium.
Okay, all right, so it sounds like we can eliminate this from our agenda and we'll wait to hear from you in May or June, Sarah, after you.
It'll be before that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it'll be before that,
Yeah. That's
okay,
Yes.
all right, well, thank you. Anybody else want to talk about?
Just on the getting the dredges weighed, I was the one that was weighed. And I don't know if you guys wanna detail that they're dry dredges or wet dredges, cause I feel like the wet dredge also with the eel, some extra seaweed on it, weighed a little more. And I'm familiar with digital scales and you can get them and probably should if it's a warden inspected by the state scale measures. It's not anything that costs any money. He comes and weighs every scale on the island. And you could get him to certify that scale so everybody could trust him.
Was it
Okay.
digital being used?
He was, like you said, it was just a little bouncy scale that was going between 35 and 45 pounds
Okay,
on the dock. But
Can
You know,
I, can I ask who's speaking? I can't tell. I can't see back there.
Dylan Wallace.
Okay, thank you.
And when I have a state inspected digital scale, I weighed it and it was half a pound under. But when JC was weighing it on the dock with the tackle on top, it was a pound, 2 pounds over.
And your dredge was wet.
And it was wet and it had eelgrass in it.
All right,
Okay.
so, and parts of the dredge, the holding water would be the netting.
The dipstick.
And the stick.
Stick and the netting.
And, you know, I suppose if the steel is wet, there's,
And they're brand new dredges, so they're gonna wear down over time and shed a little weight, but they were right on it.
Greenbags.
Close enough. Close enough.
So that, wait, Mr. Chairman, what did he say when it was over? Did he say,
He said to take them off the boat. And it had a couple extra rings, like Bobby was saying, on the ends, their rings are longer, but in the middle, the rings are shorter. It's 5 rings in the middle and a couple over on the edges.
can you take a grinder to the frame?
If I needed to, but I dried it out and it was perfect.
All right.
Is it one of the new dredges? Dylan?
Yeah, it was new this summer.
One of the new styles, so.
Yeah, and fresh, yeah.
so, just to follow up, Mr. Chairman, so then, does that mean that we need to make some sort of change to the shellfish regulations to reflect that when the dredges are weighed, they need to be weighed dry and, you know, so that the scalpers aren't, they're not jigged for, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I wasn't here, when the weight thing came into play. Mr. Franzuto was probably, in charge back then, I'm gonna imagine, and we'll let him comment in a minute, but, I'm thinking the dredge is being used wet. But, I don't wanna create any issues, but it could be an argument. Jim?
I would just say, just include the fact that like, other the line hanging off the dredge and the shackle and your swivel and your thimble might add weight. So just, I wouldn't put in dry or wet. I would just make sure that those are not included in the weight of the dredge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than that, I think it's close enough with wet or dry. I mean, do
Yeah,
we need water instead change this? I don't know. It's getting a little.
Mr.
Right.
Chairman,
Dave,
yeah, I don't mean to be glib, but you gotta be kidding me. We never had an issue whether the dredge was wet or dry. My God, we just, went down, pulled them off the culling board and weighed them. And it's not a big deal. I mean, like Bobby said, the days of using window weights and rubber bands those days are over. But back then, before we changed the regulation, you did have dredges that were, really heavy, 60, 65 pounds. I mean, not now. So, and I agree with Jim. But you go into the eye of the dredge, you don't get the shackle or the line or any of that other baloney. You just got the dredge and you see what the weight is. And the digital scale, trust me, this isn't rocket science.
Well, yeah, and it may be one of these things that we have to amend the regs to say, when you take a planer dredge, you're not putting a sash weight on it, but the front edge, the planer, is made out of steel. So
Right.
that adds a little weight to the dredge. Now, that doesn't make it dig in. The whole reason we got away from 60-pound dredges, as Dave's talking about, is because when you throw two window weights on the front of an old style dredge, that thing digs in so deep, it's ripping the roots of the grass out. These dredges don't rip the roots of the grass out, but because of the design of the dredge, where it's got the big chain on the bottom and that metal plate on the top, it's probably gonna weigh right around 40, 45 pounds. So once we figure out if these dredges are not harmful to the bottom, we should probably take a consensus of all the guys that have them and weigh them. And then get a weight for them and say, well, maybe we have to add 5 pounds to the maximum weight of a dredge. I mean, it's new technology.
And get an average weight. Let Tara and her folks do the analysis of whether it fishes well, it doesn't hurt the bottom, etc. And I also want to remind the board that we still have to finish up the whole review of all of the regulations before next year. We kind of picked and choose this year just to get open, but we still have to finish that entire review. I have questions about how we're doing the temperature right now, where we flying the flag, why the warden's having a hard time doing bushel counts. I mean, there's some questions here, especially with 12 or 15 guys fishing. I just believe that there's more to this, and don't forget, we still have to finish those all the regulation review.
Mr. Chairman,
all good points. Thank you, Dave. Peter?
I will totally cede to Dave because he's got the knowledge, but I think that that to a certain extent, the shellfish warden is turning it into rocket science. If you're gonna weigh the dredge, then weigh the dredge, but don't weigh the rope or the eelgrass. Untie the dredge and put it on the scale and see what it says, so that there's no margin of error. And I think we should spell it out in the regulations, so it's there, so that I just don't think that this, I don't think that scalpers should pay the price because the shellfish warden is being lazy or is not doing it the way it should be done. You're weighing, look, here's my tablet. You're gonna weigh my tablet, but not with my pen on it. You're gonna weigh the tablet,
Thank
Yeah.
you, Peter. Mr. Franzuto brought up the thermometer. And I know it's not on here. But can we clarify what's being used for temperature, considering we're having some red flag days? The flag is going up at the old Brant Point Marine, as far as I know, Dave. But that could change.
It's going up there for the rest of the season. The Anglers Club has given
All right.
permission to put that up there.
And what are you using for
I don't know what JC's using for I can't remember which app.
believe
We
it's-
talked about it last year. Well,
Right.
we had a
We had a
consensus.
station number, but I forgot what it was, but it's Mika's, I believe it's Mika's Pond on Weather Underground on the map.
But it's weather underground,
Yes.
but it's the
Station.
no, it's the NOAA reading of the steamship authority. And that
it's the-
information, right?
It's not the Steamship Authority, I don't think.
Yeah, I know it
Derek-
updates every
Derek
10
knows.
minutes, right?
Darren knows. Let's let her answer.
I thought we agreed, I mean, I literally, in the time it took to start this discussion, I just pulled up the Steamship Authority certified NOAA temperature, and it's 27.5 right now, and it updates every 4 minutes. And again, I don't see why that is so difficult. Here's the screen. I mean, I
It's
don't know.
that.
But I thought that's what we had agreed on. Jim, am I wrong on that?
I mean, I texted JC that I asked him which one. I asked him Mika's Pond question mark, and he said, yes, that's the station we're using. Which,
But
What
that's,
is Mika's Pond?
I distinctly remember saying it's gonna be the steamship
I thought,
authority.
I thought,
NOAA.
I thought last
We
year.
beat
said
that to
steamship.
death.
maybe I'm wrong.
All right, you know what, I can't let this carry on. I realize this is very important, but it's not on our agenda, and unless Tara's willing to continue, or Jeff, will have to bring this up at our next meeting. I thought we had one site clarified. Jeff, are you able to answer that, please?
You wrote it
Yeah,
down.
I'll try my best. Is the Steamship Authority site we had originally talked about using, and at times it posts in the 4 minutes, but we've had delays in the mornings of anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes in postings. And from our discussions, that's not, especially when we push the 10 o'clock time, not acceptable to have that delay when we get close. So we had been using that Weather Underground site, and I know we had talked about clarifying it definitively through the regulations, but I think if it's of any consolation to anybody here, I believe we are going to be trying to install a permanently continuous posting weather station at the hatchery. That is a publicly available number for people to see that's on the water, and will solve this issue once and for all.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, and all right. We all good on that for now?
Yes.
All right,
Well, can I just say one more thing about that?
Dave,
I have one of these weather stations. And this is a privately owned weather station, this Mika's Pond thing. It's at somebody's house. I don't know where, but you can bet I'm gonna find out. But my,
I turned it
my,
around. So don't
no,
quote me. I'm-
but my point is where it is important based on the harbor location, right? But I have one of these in my house in North Carolina, and you can pull it up. I mean, this is a privately owned site. So
Okay.
again, I think we either need to go with the steamship, or if Jeff can do some fancy dance stuff at the hatchery and we put in our own, that's great. It's accessible to everybody, but we got to nail this down.
yeah,
It's
okay,
not getting any warmer.
all right. That and the texting between the warden and the fisherman needs to be addressed as well.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that was a comment I was gonna make. not
This is
to-
John Logan.
John Logan, sorry, not to, bring it more into discussion that's not on the agenda, but the information relay system needs to be addressed also, because yesterday a couple of guys were texted. I was not, my commercial fishing partner was not, and a couple of people were not, so it's selective texting to people that are alerted to the fact that the flag is down, and so that needs to be uniform so that all of us know when it's good to go.
Okay, which we talked about last year as well. Okay, we will put this on the agenda next week to make sure that it's, or for our next meeting, and I'm sorry, there's 2 weeks of cold weather coming up here. Hopefully, everybody can be adults in this and try to have some proper communication, worked out with the warden. Bob, did you?
No,
Okay. Anybody else? The submerged boat wreckage, the hazard off Monomoy, any new news on this?
No, we can skip that.
Hmm. Okay,
it's probably under the ice now here.
new business. Ideas for compensating commercial bay scallopers for moving scallop seed. Mr. Sherwin has had some ideas on this, over our, quite a few meetings, some seem like good ideas, and I think it's wise to have something in place in case the scallopers are called off again to move seed. I realize, NRD has their own boat now and, seem to be, effective in what they're doing, but in case there is another large area that needs to be moved and needs the help of the fishermen, to the point of where they're taking a day off without pay to move seed, I believe, some type of a, system needs to be in place to allow them to take an extra box, or something of that sort. Mr. Sherlin?
Did everybody get the email I sent with the explanation of what I wanted to do a while ago?
You might just want to
All right,
go over this for,
let's see if I can find it real quick.
for the public.
Stand by. So I had a coupon proposal, 1 coupon for each hour worked. If other funding is not available, the rate should be set at $100 per hour for boat and fishermen using base golfing equipment. The rate can be afforded to 2 fishermen per boat when working together. The coupons will be similar to those of lobster tags, where once they are attached to their box, they cannot be removed without cutting them off, alleviating using the coupon twice. The extra box must be tagged previously to landing the catch. The tag must be removed from the box when dumped for shucking. An empty box with the tag attempting to use more than once will be considered a violation, loss of fishing day. The same violation occurs again, loss of license for the remainder of the season will occur. Tags will be valid for 1 year from issuance. I think we had some other stuff in discussion about compensation for larger vessels if needed for mass stranding and or moving of seed to other harbor. Anybody have any questions?
I like it. I just think we need to clarify it, to, I think, say 10 of us move seed, we all get a coupon or whatever. For a box or 2 boxes or whatever. I think in order to make it trackable, it would be one of these things where JC would have to have the tags. JC would have the list. And on the day that you were gonna take the box, she would have to text JC and say, I'm headed to the dock, I've got an extra box, and he'd have to come down and put the tag on it. Because otherwise, you know, you give me a handful of tags, and I'm not saying I'm gonna do this, but I'm hypothetically saying, I've got 3 tags and I get to the dock and I unload my 6 boxes or 7 boxes and there's nobody there. I'm not putting the tag on the box. So, you know, that could be an issue. So I think it's something that the warden would have to hold the tags, track the tags, and then cut the tags off. You know,
That sounds even better. Mr. Carlson, give us a little direction if you would, well, you know, this has to go through your department and I'd really, you know, I just want it to be good for you guys and good for the fishermen. Tell me what you think.
No, I mean, I definitely think this is an issue that we've all been talking about for a while and definitely needs some sort of resolution to get to. just to kind of step through parts of it, and I appreciate that Jim put it together. Financial compensation through the town, and this is just a burden of the town, is probably not a desirable result just because I know our financial processes, and that's going to involve people like submitting themselves to reimbursement and probably having to do tax forms and getting a 1099 from the town. Not an overcomable burden, but getting money from the town is a pain in the butt. I'll just say that because even as an employee, if we get reimbursement checks, it comes with some shenanigans. So, well, I'm not 100% opposed, and we'll have to identify a funding source too, because, you know, if we obviously took from the propagation fund, those are funds we use for things like the hatchery and other things. So, I think alternative solutions are better. I think as far as extra boxes go, and this has kind of always been my concern of it, is determining how hours worked are determined. And I know it sounds really simple because it's, you know, you show up to work and you leave work. Having something that's set with everyone knowing if they're there for 2 hours that they checked in and checked out, so they know that's the time. Everyone knows what they're getting when they're getting. I think having a set way to determine that's the case. You know, I don't think you want a chance where folks, you know, think they're going to be there for an hour, make a decision on their own to do an extra 3 hours by, you know, going somewhere else or doing something and then come back and say, you owe me for 4 hours. I think having all of that spelled out in advance so everyone knows exactly what they're getting for what, is something that would be really important. I also think, and I know this is kind of a stickler thing, but since we're going over the regulations, I think something that at least codifies the procedure, because essentially what you're getting with a coupon is a waiver to the regulations to take above what the regulatory threshold is. I think having at least a sentence in there when it's for limits and determination that they can be awarded at the discretion, and then the rest can be a policy, I think cleans that up. If that's how we're going to go, I think, you know, tags that are cut and stored are a better way to go than what ways we've gone in the past. But I just think there's some finer details to work out, and I think we can work that out, and this is at least a good start of that.
Okay. All right, so Jeff, if you can keep that kind of, you know, on your desk when you have nothing else to do, and I know that's not often, but just keep it in the back of your mind to be able to, you know, work on that. I know that there's probably not gonna be, you know, but we can't rule it out. I think a lot of this comes from the day last year when the red flag went up and everybody was kind of you know, had to get involved in moving seed. And at the same time, anyway, maybe Bob and Jim, you know, keep working on. You've already got it written out. Bob just kind of modified that. If you can take that and modify it and keep your end in writing, and then maybe you and Jeff can come together and something can be resolved with this as well. Yes, Jeff?
I was going to say really quickly, I'm happy to kind of put my thoughts or my idea for how to determine that together. And if it's all right with you guys, I'm happy to email Bob and Jim and kind of keep that conversation going and get something together that I think the three of us can be pretty comfortable with. And if some of it's got to insert into the regulations just to make sure that we're clean to do that,
Yes.
and hopefully have this squared away pretty quickly.
Great. That's good. Thank you, Jeff.
We should probably include JC in the conversation too, Jeff, because
Yeah.
he's the one.
Oh,
that's
for
gonna
sure.
have to Keep track of it.
No, I'll probably include Tara too. That's kind of our Shellfish team, just to make sure everyone knows what's going on.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anything else on moving scallop seed and compensation?
I just gotta say, it's certainly a big step in the right direction.
Thanks, Dave. Scott?
My only concern for the fishermen is one box sufficient? If you're out there for 3 hours, you take your boat up, take your fuel, the insurance costs on your boat. all that stuff. Is that fair for you guys? I'm just throwing it out now because if
Well-
you wanna try to modify it again.
Jim started out with an hourly rate. And as Jeff has said, that could be difficult to obtain. So, we may be talking more than one box, who knows?
Yeah, I had 1 hour for, one coupon for each hour,
Right.
if
So one
not
box per
$100, if not
hour,
$100 per hour.
I feel better
being
with that.
paid.
because it's about the same value.
Yeah.
I'm
That
just
was mine.
making sure you're not coming up short by volunteering your equipment and your time.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what Jim said. Is it 1 hour
One
per
coupon
lot?
per hour.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
yes,
One
correct.
box? Okay.
Can I ask Mr. Franzullo a question real quick?
please do.
Dave, back when you were the harbor master, and every March or April after season, you would get 8 or 10 of us to move seed for 2 or 3 days. We were paid by the town back then, weren't we?
Right. And as Jeff points out, it's cumbersome.
Yeah.
But we had generated an invoice that you guys submitted and you paid taxes on it. And, you got a 1099 at the end of the year. It is cumbersome, but there's a couple that the difficulty is one thing. The second stumbling block is where do you come up with the funds? You've got to identify the funds, and we paid it out of Shellfish propagation. But you're not running we weren't running as big a hatchery operation as we are now, and the expenses weren't near what they are now. So you got to identify the funds before you can expend them and the process to get the money to the fishermen.
Not to drag this out, Mr. Bossy, did you have anything to add to that? Because you seem to think, when we were discussing this in the past, your work, at the polls, there may have been an easier way, but that may not be, feasible with what's happening here. I'm not sure, but I just thought I'd throw that out there, Dave.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm still a favor of the cash one. You're paying tax either way, right? In theory, the scallops are coming in, and they're going to go out as a business income. They're going to get sold, the extra scallops. So paying tax there. You're paying tax. The town will give you 1099 if you're making over, I think, $700 in a year. Could happen quickly with this. It may not happen at all with this. I'm not sure. So I wouldn't give up on that. I think it's probably a little cumbersome. The true problem is the funding source. So someone would have to figure out a ballpark of what might be spent in a typical year, and then just turn around and figure out a way to find a place to steal that money.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Could I say
Okay.
one thing on that real quickly?
Jeff, yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're still kind of exploring the monetary option. I know I've been trying to talk to our finance director, Brian Turbot, about what something like that could look like. The one thing that he also mentioned to me that is of concern is typically if you're brought on as a vendor of the town doing work for the town, they want some sort of like proof of insurance as well. I'm not the red tape guy here, so I'm just asking him because he's the one that signs the checks to make sure that we can get those checks as easy. And unfortunately, the world of the late 90s and early 2000s was a little bit more free than the rules we live in for finance stuff now. So we're trying. I just want to make sure we're on with all the right answers for that and keep everyone's noses clean.
Well, no, and that's good. Perfectly understandable there with the red tape. You're just delivering the news. We won't shoot the messenger, Jeff.
I just don't want to have, 10 guys have to go out and get a certificate of insurance to send back to the town and give them 3 days of legwork just to go
Right.
out, move some scallops.
Yeah.
There are
No.
easier ways without beating guys up for it. We'll figure it out.
All right, Scott, quickly.
To get the certificate of insurance, it's a push of a button. It's
You
not.
gotta have insurance though.
Yeah, you gotta have
Yeah,
insurance.
Nobody in the Scholar fleet has.
Okay.
insurance.
Yeah.
Let's clarify
It-
that.
Just,
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, be surprised.
Okay, moving on, if I may. Preparations for extending the commercial-based scallop season. Peter and I decided to put this on the agenda because we did this, was it several years ago now? We did it kind of late in the season, which, you know, to me is, you know, there's a reason it's late in the season. You don't know how many days you're gonna have off because it's cold. We don't know how many scallops are left near the end of March. But the state was upset that we came with that late request. So we decided, well, we better get the ball rolling now. In looking at the forecast, today was the first day I think you've had for temperature.
Yes.
But it looks like there could be more in the future. Actually, I don't see an end to this cold snap. There's maybe a lull from it for a few days, but then it's gonna come back. For whatever it's worth, Farmers Almanac's calling for a cold winter. This is winter. We've got, February and March to go. And honestly, I felt, these past couple of seasons that the first 2 weeks of April have been quite cold as well. So, we already know there's a good amount of scallops out there. Very few fishermen taking them. Discussion.
I think we just need to remember to, for the natural resources to call the state well in advance. That's pretty much it.
Right.
I think that's it.
Well, I'm looking for,
I think you keep this on the agenda
Don't forget.
till move it to the first meeting in February. It gets us a little farther down the road. We see how many cold days we have this month. How much scallops are still out there, how many guys are fishing, and then. I mean, but I think you can get a better feel for it then than you can right now.
Well, also you four guys that are on the water right now, talk to the other guys who aren't here and see, you know, just try and get a
Yeah.
sense of
Get a
if
sense.
that's what they wanna do. So we're not, you know, just,
oh, I think if just 4 guys wanna do it, the others don't, that's their choice.
No, I know, I don't mean that in that way, Andy, I'm just saying, you know. Let's see, one, how much product's left at the end of, you know, next month, how many guys are fishing, what the market's like, you know, and go from there.
Well, another thought that runs through my mind, Mr. Carlson and Tara, if you would, if we were to request this now, or, you know, the beginning of February at the latest, and be granted it, but then feel we shouldn't use it, is it left up to your department? Can you take it back and not use it? Just get it for a surety reason and but then take it back if we feel it's not a good idea come mid-March.
Well, in my opinion, I don't think you would ever take anything back, once it was granted. I mean, I would just ask that the fleet consider the option to up the bushel limit as well, just when you're having the conversation of extending the season. You don't want to get too close to 50 degrees, which I looked back at all the historical temperatures for the harbor for the past 5 years, and you're pretty good through April for that, for dredging on the eelgrass when they're, you know, gearing up for flowering and that sort of thing. But yeah, I would just ask that you consider all the options. I don't have a problem with asking the state. Usually it's kind of a last minute thing, but I don't know how they would feel about approving something so far in advance. I do think that there's an excess product out there. You know, I wanted to say something when you were talking about compensation. To me, it makes sense to use the resource to compensate the fishermen, especially when there's an excess and there aren't that many fishermen. That seems like an easier option. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken. I thought, Tara, that they that the last time we asked for the extension, the state was upset that we didn't come to them sooner. And, you know, before you know it, I mean, what is sooner to them? And, what's that happy medium if we are gonna move forward with this request? And also, my thoughts in what I was comparing to when I said, you know, what if we get the extension and not use it? I mean, we've raised the limit by a box, but it's not forever. We're gonna be revisiting that as well. I think it's just for the rest of this season. Is it safe to say we take that box back and next November 1st starts out with 5 boxes unless we request for 6 again?
Of course.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say, and I think that it's safe to also consider that you could raise the box instead of, you know, fishing for an extra 2 weeks if you wanted to. I don't get involved with the marketing. That's not my thing. So that would be up for everyone else to discuss.
Okay. So you were just throwing out another option of maybe we raise the limit again
To 7.
to 7 and, okay, all right. Jim?
No, wait, so Jeff
Oh,
was next and then Dave.
oh, Jeff, sorry. Okay,
Sorry, I
Mr.
had to turn
Crowley.
off my camera because my connection got a little bit wonky. But I think we're happy to, from our end, departmental end, we can at least approach the state about timeframes and what they would look for that. I tend to agree with Tara about raising the limit because that's also a decision that doesn't involve the state, right? Like if we wanted to put it up again, we don't need
Yes.
to involve the Division of Marine Fisheries to do that. So that's something that we can do on a more expedited basis. But I think we can arm ourselves with information for both paths.
okay. Hey, like I said, we just put this on here so we can start, you know, throwing this around. Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, basically what Jeff just said, you can always raise the limit again. And you don't have that many guys going. So you can always take it to 7 boxes, but I agree with Bobby. You gotta wait till at least February 1st to see what the market's doing, how many guys you got going, how many days you lose to cold. You know, keep it on the agenda. We'll look at it the first couple weeks in February.
Let me just say one thing before you know,
And
you can't, we get the extension, you know, it's just for this season. And it makes no sense to take it back. It's just for this season, and if we don't use it, we don't use it, and then next season, if we need to go for it again, we go for it again, but it's insurance, you know? And you may get the extension and then have days that you can't go.
That's what I'm gonna bring up.
Good. Well,
Jim?
I was gonna say Saturday makeup day, if we have a cold day during the week, go Saturday. Done that in the past, like this week, we're gonna lose 3 days, we're only gonna fish 2. So if we go Saturday, give us 1 day back. It's one other option.
Is opening a Saturday an option, Jeff? Tara,
That's a town bylaw too.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to take a look at it, but I'm not gonna rule it out.
okay,
we did it for Christmas, so.
right.
There's no really can't, there's Saturdays.
Any other board members discussion on this?
John has hand up.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As far as the tax limit, again, I'm a little hesitant to go the box by box. Can we decide to equate the town limit to the actual state limit, which is 10? And again, it's not a mandate, it's an opportunity. And let us take them if we can get them, if we can sell them, obviously. That's one comment I want to make, instead of going 1 box by meeting, let's just go equate to the town, the state limit. And also, if we're talking about extending the season, for how long? Is it gonna be 2 weeks? Is it gonna be 10 days? And if it does take some legwork with the state, I would suggest doing that. And then if we get to March 15th and realize that we're all done, You know, again, it's not a mandate, it's an opportunity. And look at it that way instead of trying to reverse something because we got permission to do it to start with. So,
I like the flexibility there. Bob,
We have gone to 10 boxes in the past. I can remember years when we did. I can remember one year we went to 10 bags in the past. That's all I know
Really?
we've done. But,
really?
it's again, if we, it's just a matter of whether each scalloper has a market to move that much product. And they can find openers to open them. And again, that's like John said, that's up to each individual fisherman. If you got a buyer that'll take 70, 80 pounds a day, and you've got openers that'll open them. If we decided we wanted to go to 10 boxes because we want to make sure we get all these adults out of the harbor and they don't just die in the shell, that is an option that we can do without having to go to the state. And that would, eliminate the having to go into April. Again, it's just like the 6 box. You don't need to take it. Most people do, but a lot of guys are taking just 5 right now. So at least I know some of them.
Yeah,
Can I say something real quick?
please do.
I think if we're gonna entertain going to the state limit, I would definitely like to know exactly what came out in November and December. So I think it would be key for all the permit holders that have fished to report that back, because that would be a lot easier to make that decision if we had that information. And I'm gonna resend the email, but if you see somebody out there, just mention it. I'm not gonna, I just want it so I can figure out what's coming out.
Well, you
Yeah.
need it. You need
The
it.
bushel count is very important, so I really hope the fishermen all cooperate with this request. Bob?
Is there any way that you can pull the information from the state catch reports? Because we all have to file catch reports. And they all have to be up to date by January 1, or you can't renew your state license. I know it's in pounds, but I mean.
They're very unorganized. I've done it in the past. They report it by year and not by season. So teasing that out is really difficult from the state, so they do like January 2025 to December 2025. And we do November to the March of the next year is how we report it. So it's hard. And then the trip reports aren't available till the end of the season usually. So I mean, I would love to have them monthly from everybody, but I've been told that that's a lot to ask. But it really helps with the fishery management if we have a good idea of what's going out. I can look at, who's fishing and kind of make some round averages that will probably be inflated if I assume the best out of everybody, but it would be nice to have that information.
Is one last quick question, and I'm just throwing this out there. Is there anyone in the IT department with the town or from one of these colleges that we get interns to do different things for that could write a simple app that we could report our daily catch reports on that would go to you at Natural Resources? So I could just, like, when I report a tuna fish, I just go into my phone, I file out, when I caught it, the date. It would be that simple to have a little app say, today I caught like 6 bushels, and it would go to you with my town permit number, and you would know XYZ was caught today. I mean,
I would love that.
It would be great if we could get somebody to write an app like that, and
I'll figure that out.
Probably in high school.
That'd be some college kid out there looking to do
Excuse my dad.
thesis or something.
Dylan?
Yeah, I love that idea, and maybe that app could tell us when the day's too cold too.
It's a good idea.
But I think it makes sense for us to share as much information with Natural Resources as we can. And maybe when you're looking at the regs, put that into the regs and say you have to report monthly to resources.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I can go home and do mine in 5 minutes. It would go on my catch report, so I just count the days.
All right, any more discussion? This topic was preparation for extending commercial bay scallop season. We've kind of widened that topic a bit, but that's okay. It's nice to cover this important stuff. Any other discussion on this topic? Public questions or comments? Anything anybody would like to see on our next meeting's agenda?
I have something. We need to clarify something in the shellfish regulations. So last week was school vacation and I took, one of the seniors from the high school scalloped with me a couple days. And I called JC because I wanted to make sure how to log his apprentice days. JC told me to take a picture of him on the boat so he would have proof that he went fishing with me. Well, then he said, does he have a license? And I said, no, he doesn't have a license. He said, well, then his apprentice days don't count. And that seems kind of hypocritical to me. If we've got young kids in the school system that want to go scalloping during their school breaks, and they want to learn how to fish from a fisherman who knows how to fish, those days should count. Even if they're in high school or college or whatever, whether they have a license or not, they shouldn't have to go out and spend $250 to buy a license to get his 20 or whatever number days of apprentice days we have. And that needs to be changed if that's the case. Anyone should be able to go scalloping for the day and it should count as an apprentice day. And we should be able to take a picture of him on the boat and send it to the warden and say, this kid fished with me today. And then have a log somewhere that they can keep track of all these different people that fish, so that 4 years from now, when that kid graduates from college and he's got his 20 days of apprenticeship, if he comes back to Nantucket and wants to rig a boat and go scalloping, he shouldn't have to go fish with somebody else for 20 days ahead of time. I mean, that's how I learned. That's how Jimmy learned. That's how a lot of us learn.
Yeah.
And it should still stay that way,
Yeah.
especially for the young kids that grow up here that want to do this.
You know, I always wondered that. I fished since I was 12, never got my commercial license. But I bet I put in over 200 days with my dad and other guys. He sent me out with Buddy Ayers and Winnie Ellis and Peter Gomes but none of that could count. If I wanted to get
Right,
my
so
license
we need to
today, I
go,
gotta go
we need to
apprentice
make
at
sure we
60 years old.
we touch this over the winter when we go through the final shellfish regs to clarify this section of the rules.
Andy, can you
Uh,
add the shellfish regulations to the next agenda? I would really like to get this off my plate, and I definitely want to get it through the select board by the end of March, so it's all approved for April 1st, because I know there's some fishery starting then. So I will, before, a few days before the next meeting, I will make sure that I have an updated draft for everybody to review. And I'll include a summary of the things that we had talked about and changed, and the things that we still need to reword, like what Bobby said with the apprentice, and maybe Jimmy and Jeff and JC can get together and work on the other compensation piece of that too.
Okay. Noted, Sarah, thank you. Maybe we can
Thank
get
you.
some eating here in 2 weeks.
We'll light a fire in the corner.
Yeah.
I would just add real quickly too, I think with the idea kicking around of app-based reporting, I think if you're an apprentice, there'd be a real slick way to do an apprentice day, just right through that too. So I think there are a lot of really easy solutions to a lot of these. I think we can hopefully address pretty quickly.
Thanks, Jeff.
Maybe even if we have to pay somebody to build the app, maybe we can hit up the Shellfish Association to help fund this. Because it would just simplify everything. If there was an app, it would be real-time data. Everyone would benefit from it.
Great idea.
I would be shocked if there's not already an app that does exactly this. It may not be for fisheries, but some sort of reporting. That it's probably already made. It would just be, changing some names and adding the town to it. So I don't think it will take a lot to try to do that.
Okay, great idea. Anything else for our next meeting? We're gonna keep these 2 new business items on the agenda. Basically everything that's on today's agenda will be on the next meeting's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, just for a point of information, the February 4th meeting, I will not be able to attend or zoom in because I'll be driving to Kansas, so I won't have service.
It's Carlson campus.
There, no, but there's geese. I'm
Okay.
gonna help in the population.
How are we getting in the stall, Bob? You're not here.
You'll catch them.
All entitled to a winter vacation. You.
Mr.
you
Chairman.
go. Dave?
I just wanted to tell everybody that, the Harbor Plan Update Committee met yesterday. We're meeting again on the 27th. And we're working on draft recommendations and putting some fine tuning on the wording. So as soon as we're clear to send out a draft, I'll get it to the board so you can start looking at it.
Do you want to talk about it on the 21st or wait till February?
No, wait, well, let me get through this 27th meeting and see how we're doing then.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Anything else? Our
Motion
next
to-
meeting,
Motion to adjourn.
our next meeting's January 21st. We have a motion to adjourn from Mr. DeCosta,
Second that.
seconded by Mr. Anderson.
Thanks for coming, you guys.
Thank you, thanks.
All in favor of adjourning, Mr. Sherlin?
Aye.
Mr. DeCosta?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Brace?
All right.
Mr. Bossy?
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Jeff, thanks for being here. Tara, thank you.
Jim,
Good night.
peace for you.
What's that?
Yeah, good night, everyone. Thanks.
This meeting's adjourned 6:18.
Amen.
You know they're gonna dredge the Highline?
I had no idea till I saw.
Did anybody know about that?
No,
You know
You guys
what?
know about that?
I didn't know.
They dredged the Highline slip.
Yeah.
I saw
It's like-
the barge being pushed in there.
Yeah, we don't know that's coming.
Yesterday morning, we
Now-
were all
Hold
waiting
on,
to
we're
go.
still live.
Oh, good. It should be on there.
What did they do when the boat was
Started dredging, but
What's
didn't know
that?
where it was.
What did they do when the boat